Hey, what's up, my man?
We're back and right on schedule. It's Thursday. It's March 10th. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. The year is still 2022, and we are episode 563. 563. Gorgeous sunshiny day. Spring is upon us and quickly will disappear in the next 2 days. We have a snow forecasted Friday night.
Yes.
It's going to be cold and brisk, which I love. I love a little cold briskness, and we always get that fake week of fake spring in March, and then we get slapped back in the face with some winter weather, but I like it. I like the chill. Frankly, everybody's like, I'm ready for it to get warm, and then in about
Makes
4
you
weeks...
appreciate it, man.
It does, and then in 4 weeks, you're all going to be, frankly, bitching and moaning about it's too hot, it's too humid.
Oh, I've already heard that.
Yeah, it's like, it's too hot, it's humid, I can't be outside.
I wasn't ready for those 70s, man.
Gosh, just give me a break, people. It's like, you'll get used to it. Just stay outside, stay the course. Hope you're staying the course in your life and in your racing. Welcome. It's your first time tuning in. Welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general, that your time is valuable. So we appreciate it. And we appreciate you. We cover it all. We'll do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We'll do race recaps. We'll also do race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through, what our athletes are going through. We work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe. Most of them 99% of them are all virtual and online. We work with a wide range from beginner level athletes looking to complete their very first triathlon ever, even just runners, cyclists, and swimmers, and then everyone up to elite level amateurs trying to get back to Kona, and everyone in between. We'll use the feedback we have from them, the communications, and just the day-to-day life that we're all going through. We're all going through life, and we're all going through triathlon, so we have a lot of similarities. It might not be specific to each one of us, but we can find a lot of similarities, I think, for what we're going through and the obstacles we have and the struggles and the frustrations, but also the triumphs. So we'll use that to springboard our discussion of the day. We'll also go into our Facebook group, Crushing Iron Group. If you want to be a part of that conversation, just answer one simple question, let you right in, as long as you're a real person. And you didn't join Facebook 32 hours ago with a name that's 98 letters long. Outside of that, we'll let you right in. And that's it. We don't have any... we don't do sponsors. We don't do ads. We do have an agenda, though, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey. As I always say, I think it's a good agenda, and here we are, man. It's the agenda. Yes.
It's the agenda.
Back with the flops. Thank you.
Back with the flops. It's a little chilly.
It is a little chilly.
It's not chilly. It's really nice.
No, it is. It's nice.
I like what you said. I wish I had a lake right outside I could just polar plunge in right now.
I don't. I could watch, but I have no interest in the polar plunge. I've never participated.
I needed it this morning. I woke up super early. I came in here a little late, and you're like, man, dude, you just wake up. Yeah, is that what'd you call it them? What?
You had sleepy face on. I could tell you. I could tell you had just woken up.
But I had you said the one nap or something?
I said your second nap in it today. You woke up and you went back to sleep, and you're doing a split nap. You're doing a split nap. We do split runs and double rides, and you did you split nap. You woke up, you went back to sleep, and now you're here.
Negative split. Well, I got on the bike last night, and you've been on the bike. You got on it yesterday too.
Yeah, man. I'm getting back on it today. No, I didn't get on it yesterday. I didn't get on it 2 days ago. I'm gonna get back on it today. I knew you rode because you had the big beach towel across the handlebars when I walked in. I walked up and I was like, yeah, he was on the bike last night.
You had eight mechanics towels on.
That's right. It's just it fits our personality. I'm more of I like go over a lot. I'm more of a quantity guy, and you're a quality guy. You went with the beach towel and
beach towels. I think would people be interested in C26 beach towels? Let us know.
Probably not. I do have
or for transition towels. That's what I want to call
compared
them.
to yours. Speaking of apparel, before we get into the cast, we'll be coming out with some exciting new shirts. A different style from what we've done in the past. So be on the lookout for those. We'll post them on our social media platforms and even put them in an email, maybe even an e-blast, and then Facebook group, and then out there. But we'll get those out there. They are very exciting as always. We don't do sponsors or ads, so a great way to support us and honestly support yourself with some great gear is to buy some of our stuff. So we'll be on the lookout for that. And cheers to everyone in their college basketball favorite team as we ramp up the conference tournaments, or we get started in the conference tournaments, and next week it's March Madness. Go Vols, go Badgers, and the rest of you, well, whatever. Especially places like Kentucky. I'm not a huge fan of Kentucky.
Don't you guys alienate, man. We got a lot of Kentucky people up there.
Already alienated people.
Great program.
6 years.
Salt of the earth, blue blood.
Oh God, and always overrated. Best talent ever, and you can't make it back and can't win a championship. Anyway,
it's all about pulling together as a team.
I digress.
It's not the talent.
I digress. I was gonna ask if you had a topic today, but since you've only been awake for 27 minutes, I'm gonna say that you probably don't.
I don't. I had a great dream though I had a great dream about triathlon.
You go ahead and insert explicit lyrics for this one then?
No.
What was your triathlon
It was interesting.
dream?
I was doing a full, and I happened in the middle of it. I ended up taking a class and playing a softball game, and I still went sub 12.
In the mid, you're feeling quite good about yourself these days. You're doing a lot.
No, but I just thought it was an interesting lesson on patience because I got done. I'm like, I thought that went okay. I had no idea. I wasn't wearing a watch. And
so you did a full, and you also competed in a softball game and took a class.
Yeah.
What was the class in?
Oh,
so it stuck. Yeah. So it was really, you probably knew it when you woke up, and now that I asked you, you can't remember.
I think it was on power meters.
You took a class. Actually, might not be a bad idea. So you took a class on power meters. You participated in a softball game, and you did an Ironman sub 12.
Yeah.
You're feeling it, right? You're feeling.
I mean, I think
that's not the dream most people have when they have a triathlon dream. Usually, it's like, you show up to transition naked, or you forget your fueling, or you're an hour late to transition, you can't get back in, which has happened to you before. You have these like really negative dreams that impact you, kind of a harshly way. And you had one where you were just kind of checking boxes, and you probably baptized a few babies and shook a few hands, ran for governor. What else did you do during this dream?
That's about it. But I have to look at that as a good sign because all my other ones, my biggest nightmare is being late to the start and they're pulling up the timing mat and I have to dive over it to get into the water before.
Which is a legit fear for you. I mean,
it really is.
Because we've been one of the last ones in the water by choice, however, at Ironman Louisville back in the day. And then you were famously locked out of the Chattanooga Waterfront Triathlon by the Team Magic Volunteers. You showed up too late and you weren't allowed to get to your bike. You had to sweet talk a volunteer to let you get to your bike so you could put your stuff on. This isn't one of those dreams like, I showed up to class naked, or I showed up, to transition without any clothes on. I forgot all my stuff. I've had similar dreams about it's just funny. Like I have more triathlon related dreams when I'm not actually training that much. Mm-hmm. Like I've had 2 in the last maybe 6 months, and they were both that I forgot my bike.
Oh,
totally. Like I got there, I woke up there, I went down, I was like, oh shit, because I've been doing this for so long that I don't make a packing list anymore. Like I just kind of like, I need that. And if I forget something, they probably got it. And both times that's something to do. One was I didn't have any tubes or tires on my bike wheels, none, and I couldn't participate. And the other one was that I just totally forgot, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't race. And I was totally distraught. Now I wasn't able to go to participate in intramural sports during it, or increase my intelligence by taking a class and gaining credits. But good for you, man. It sounds like you're in a good spot upstairs.
Yeah, today.
Maybe not tomorrow.
Or dream analysis for us.
Yeah, we should do. I'm sure we have a couple of psychologists or psychotherapists out there that could. Let's not do that. Let's not go down that tray.
All right. So to your topic.
Yeah, to my topic today. So we've talked about this before in a million other different ways, but I think it's always a great topic. And we're talking about dosing, and we're talking about stress. And I was reading a post earlier this morning in our closed Facebook group, Crushing Iron group, about you see this a lot when it comes, and we've said it a lot, when you say trust the process, right? And that's something I believe in. It's something that I stand by. It's something that I tell our athletes to do. But I think it's kind of a 2-part here. Is like the thing is you have to totally trust what you're doing. And the process, not only you have to trust the process, but the process has to be right. Mm-hmm. You can't just, everyone says like, I just trust the process. Well, if your process is wrong, then you can't trust it, right? You shouldn't trust it. It's like saying, if your process is an instruction manual about how to put together an entertainment center and the directions are wrong and they're backwards, you can trust the process all you want to, but you're not going to get an entertainment center, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to come out with, 4 sheets of wood, a couple things, you're missing 2 bolts, and you're going to wonder why you went to IKEA and purchased all these items and didn't, just hire somebody to put it together for you. But so you can't blindly trust the process. You have to know what the process is, the intended outcome is, and you have to believe that it's working. You can't have doubts, right, about those things. The other one, and this is kind of a two-parter is I was listening to a really great podcast on the way home from Texas last week. And in the middle of it, they started talking about, dose control. And that's basically how it is. Like you see a lot of, papers out right now. There's a lot of people going back and forth about intensity control and intensity distribution and measuring lactate and all these kind of things where, 99% of athletes that are in the sport aren't going to be out measuring lactate. You're just not A, because you don't know how, and B, you don't know how to use it. But his explanation was talking about, we've used the phrase like minimal effective dose, right? We talk about going to the doctor and you say, all right, I have this, I have that. I want to give you, 2 milligrams. That'll be good. They're not going to say, hopefully, well, let's do 10 milligrams because that'll really take care of it, right? And I think
flush it right out of you.
Exactly, flush it right out of you, right? So things in like medicinal things and things that can become toxic is also, I think, a great analogy for how we think about stress and how we think about, right, the process that you're in and how much stress you are adding on to your life. And the guy that was on this podcast talked about how quickly stress leaves your body, right? Depending on what it is, how much you're getting. Like, if you can use alcohol for an example, right? Mm-hmm. You can probably have one beer an hour, 1 hour to every hour and 75 minutes and have that basically all day long and probably never get that smashed, right? You might even get drunk. You would just be probably just bloated and feel gross, right? You're just kind of sipping on because you're spreading out the amount of time you're taking in alcohol, right? Now, if you were to have 2 beers and 4 shots of tequila after 1 hour, the dose is very, very high. You're going to become drunk, right? And what's going to happen is also going to take it longer to what? Get out of your body, right? It's going to take longer to dissipate and you're going to be hungover, things are going to feel. The same thing goes with how we apply stress. And that's something that I think every athlete needs to understand is that when you, again, going back to trusting a process, if I say, Mike, all right, today's, the intended, stress response for today is to do this solid workout on Tuesday because I believe you're going to be able to recover well enough and the stress is going to, dissipate or filter out, if you will, to where you'll be able to do this next day very, very well, or enough, you'll be able to complete with a certain level of competency of what we're trying to look for. Things are still going to plan, going to the process. Well, if you wake up and you don't have one of these split naps and you end up only getting 4 hours of sleep, right? Then is that going to change and alter what I believed originally was enough time, right, between a stress for maybe, let's say, a big gear workout to the stress of maybe a hill workout, running? Are you going to have had the time and the recovery period that's going to allow you to do the next session as well as we thought? No, right? Because you only have a limited amount of sleep. Maybe you had, a high stress. Stress in life, sleep, fueling, how we treat recovery can either fast forward, right, and help our recovery to where we can be ready the next day to take on the next stress, dose response, or life, sleep, fueling, alcohol, like all these things do what? Inhibit, right? Slow down your ability to dissipate and recover from this stress. So I think it's just one of those things that's a great conversation to have because you can have a plan, you can have a process, but if you aren't really paying attention to how everything in life is affecting what you're trying to do and your inability to recover. Like I had an athlete this morning who I said, he woke up and he said, my legs are super tired and, I'm just not feeling it. They feel like rocks. And I just responded to him. I said, hey, listen, I said, something's up, right? Something's not making sense. The load is not high enough. I'm not asking enough of you stress wise in training to elicit a comment of, I need a day off, my legs are fried, right? So I said, enlighten me. What else is going on in life? And he listed like 40 things that are going on in life. And my response first was like, oh, so things are pretty chill. It was oh shit, no wonder you feel like total crap, right? And so again, I think we will always, no matter how times we hear it, no matter how many times you and I say it, we will always underestimate and not take seriously the impact that life stress has on physical stress, right? And that's why I'm always going to be wary of these automated artificial intelligence predictor, softwares, because it's going on, your own physical response and training and what they expect you to do. They can't take into account life and stress and things like that. Another example like an athlete or read is like, hey, life stress is compiling, right? And you read this all the time. When you hear life stress is compiling, you can feel people's stress like rising, and you think, I'm going to take this run off and I'll be back at it tomorrow. You're like, wait a minute. You can unpile, right? In one day or in 12 hours. No, you can't. Like it's like somebody who overtrains physically, you can't be back after one day of rest, right? It's going to take you a week or maybe 2 weeks to get back to where you're at a healthy level. And the same thing goes with life stress. You can't take one day off from life stress or life that's compiling on top of you, responsibilities, work, whatever it is, and think, you know what? I just need one day, right? I'm skipping one day. I'm going to feel better. So I just did my usual text and I said, hey man, day off tomorrow and don't argue with me. Being back at it on Friday. And he texted and he was like, thank you for seeing what I was able to see, but not able to act on. Right. And that's, I think, the problem with all of us is that we can say and we can recognize that we're stressed, but I think we'll always, as type A people who are driven and competitive and, kind of just looking through our own lens, it's very, very hard for us to make that decision for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. See, I can't imagine, like in triathlon, there's, like you said, life is such a big deal. And when I can imagine it, but when I see, somebody that's just like always green, they're just really good at managing a lot of different things. I think, it's like, I'm always erring for, if you're not feeling up to this, don't do that shot. You might be able to handle that beer an hour, but if you start adding shots to it, whether it's like a more intense interval or 2 extra intervals or whatever it may be, keep an eye on that kind of stuff, because if you're 12, 13 weeks out from your race and you can only go half the workout, I'd much rather have that than, these are things that, scientists study, and I feel like I just sort of know innately or pay attention to innately, mm-hmm. and don't always have the correct terminology for it, but I'm always be like, just relax. You can get so much more benefit out of being, on top of your life game, being less stressed than you can from, draining an extra hard 1,500 yards in the pool today or whatever the case may be. It's like the diminishing returns mm-hmm. of going hard on that party are really going to come back to bite you. Sometimes you can go, now you might remember this back in your day.
I was a professional.
You were a professional, but I'm sure there was this is a weird thing to bring up, but I'm sure there were certain nights when you were a pretty solid drinker.
Yeah.
And other nights when you went out and you just kind of got hammered on about 3 or 4 drinks or whatever. Versus, like your body, I feel like that's an analogy that's really interesting, is that if you're in a really good shape and you had a couple of days of good sleep and everything like that, you might be able to party a little harder. Mm-hmm. But certain people just kind of keep drinking, bringing it. And they eventually they keep going back to the well and they can't get out of it then. And then it's just like a whole week off or something.
But it doesn't have the same, it's like, people like that. Myself, I can give you a million examples from back when I would just get, drunk every single day. I'd have a couple of vodka tonics. I kind of knew my spacing, right? Like I was like I said, I was professional, and dedicated. And I knew after like a certain number of vodka tonics, it was double vodka tonics,
it's time for wings.
Yeah, it's time for wings, right? I need something to slow it down, because I would be, for me, it was like that unhealthy that I was like, man, like I don't want to be toast yet, because then I'll just be so incoherent. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. But there were other times where I'd be partying too much. And I remember these specifically, where I was having my vodka tonics and then it was like, hey, let's do shots. And then I was like way off. Like, I was done. Then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, hair of the dog. And you're like, and you have like 2 and you're like, I feel worse. Everybody says like, oh, the hair of a dog. I'm like, no, who wants the hair of a dog? Okay. It makes you feel worse. And
I know, I was wondering about that too.
It's so fascinating, right?
My dad used to call it a can of toast.
That's right. Yeah.
In the morning.
But if you need a can of toast, get a can of toast, right? The answer isn't, a Bloody Mary that I'm probably going to put way too much vodka in, because then I'm going to feel worse at 1:00, right? Like I show up to a restaurant or bar. I'm like, yeah, I'll take a Bloody Mary, and then after about 1, I would never get drunk ever. On like the next morning, I got to go out, because I would just already feel so run down and so like crappy, I was like, yeah, this isn't even like, I mean, and those are the mornings where even myself as a very dedicated and committed alcoholic would wake up and be like, I'm not drinking today. I'm not drinking today. And then around 10
say ever again?
I didn't say ever again. I said today, right? That's when you have a problem when you have to like ration anything in life or, or limit yourself or you have to count. You're like, maybe I have a problem. It's like, I'm definitely not drinking today. And then obviously it would never work. And then around noon I'd go out and I'd start drinking again. But that would be the day where I wouldn't get like real smashed because I couldn't. It was still in my body. It was still like, I just had that feeling of grossness in my body. But I think, like you said, you have to listen to, going back to training and stress, is you have to be able to listen to all of the signs, right? Like we had a great question on the Zoom call yesterday. An athlete asked about that rides with power, and also asked about heart rate, right? Which one do I go with? And I said, I think using both, especially on the bike, is great for athletes who maybe aren't really in tune with their body and what feels right or what feels like too much, what feels like too easy, or they need more information to make a better decision, for themselves, because they don't really know. They don't have the experience. And I said, listen, I said power is what you're going to race by, so we go by power. However, having heart rate as a field is beneficial because it also kind of tells you what's going on in the background, right? Is it too high, right? You normally crank out on a long ride 200 watts and that's your zone 2, right? Middle zone 2, just make it easy math. And your average heart rate around there is usually, let's say 135. Well, if you are cruising at 200 one day outside and you're riding, you're like, yeah, I don't feel that great. I feel okay, but I don't really feel that great. Some people, that's all they need to know to back it down to 190 or 185 or probably even 180 is what you probably should be doing. And they can do that. They can make that decision they're on their own without needing another piece of information to confirm what they're actually feeling. So what heart rate can tell you is if he looked down, he's doing 200 and all of a sudden his usual 135 and he takes a peek, it's like 147. You're like, no shit, I don't feel very good, right? My usual zone 2 effort and output is telling me that what I'm feeling is zone 3, which no wonder, I'm not feeling very good. The same exact thing goes the other way. If, Timmy Tom is cruising at 200 watts and it's usually 135, and he's like, I'm feeling pretty good today. Like, I'm feeling really good. And he goes and he takes a peek to confirm that. And his average heart rate's like 126, 127. He's like, I do feel good, right? Some people need that extra bit of affirmation one way or the other. Other athletes who have been doing this for a very long time and who are very, very good at being what I would consider mature, responsible, and intelligent athletes already know what's going on in life and can probably make a legit assumption before they even get on. I need to be really careful today because life stress, I didn't sleep good, right? So you didn't sleep good. You've got an interval workout, right? You got 4 hours of sleep and you got 4 hours, not 4 hours of sleep just because you had an off night, right? And the last few nights have been, 8 hours. 4 hours of sleep that night might not feel that bad. It won't feel great, but it won't be as bad if you had 5 previous nights, right? Of 3 to 4 or 5 hours sleep, or a lot interrupted. Again, it's compounding, right? So a 4-hour night of sleep is going to be a lot more detrimental to your workout if you had multiple ones in succession versus just having one, right? But you might get on the bike and think, all right, that was just a bad night's sleep. I've been sleeping a lot. I just had an off night versus the athlete who maybe had a bunch of them. And they can also say, well, I had that 4 hours sleep because I was up all night worrying about, my kid, which is very common. And okay, so not only are we not sleeping well, right? We haven't slept well for a while. We're stressed. Okay. You already have kind of what I would say 2 checks in the box of I need to lower things or I need to be on heightened awareness to take things a lot easier today than predicted or what's intended for my day. You don't always have to let your legs give you the answer. It can be in your head, right? It can be, I don't have it today, right? And that's something that I even mentioned again yesterday in our Zoom call was like, I can map out my entire week. And if I hop on the bike and I just don't feel like I don't feel like I got it, then I just pull back and do my easy ride that I had, scheduled later that week. However, if I get on the bike for an easy ride and I'm like, I'm feeling it today, then I smash it, right? Because I've got it today. Like, I've really got it. I mean, this stuff is like going way, way, way back to you and I's first ever invention which was mapsology, which was, grading, maybe we get like a software person to create like an app for us that took into our, mental and emotional well-being. But it was that how your mental and emotional capacity or lack thereof or stress heavily impacts your ability or inability to have a certain physical output, right, on life. And I think we can all, over the last 2 years, I'm pretty sure every single person can now say, mental and emotional stress, anxiety, depression, fear, whatever it is, has had a specific kind of effect on me from a health standpoint, right? Or what I'm able to do physically. If you're distracted, I'm sure you read the same thing. People go out for a ride or a run. They're like, I was distracted all the time. I had something on my mind. Like, you're not able to channel the focus and intent of what you want to do. So it takes a lot of awareness, but it takes a lot of humility, I think, to be able to listen to your body and respect, right? Respecting your body. We talked about this on Monday or Tuesday rather, respecting your body and your overall health, right? To not tip the scale over to I'm mentally stressed, I'm emotionally stressed. Oh, you know what'll feel great? Some physical stress, right? And that's what tips you over the edge to where now you're so stressed out, you've created so much stress in your body, you're taking 3 to 4 days off, which for most triathletes is going to raise your stress level, right? Because you're afraid you're going to lose all fitness and become unfit in 4 days.
Mm-hmm. It's really that Cody Beals thing that we talk about, that get up if you feel great, and then, like you said, you go smash it sometimes. And what fascinates me about all of this is that I think, sometimes I'm this way. I know a lot of people are this way. We have these, I guess, low-level stressors, right, on your mind, and you don't even always know what they are. It's just sort of this, there's a lot of shit going on in your life, and you're kind of like, oh, no, that's not going right. This ain't going, I got to deal with that. I got to deal with. They just sort of add up. So certain people don't get that deep into those things. I was reading this book again last night. I love to read. It's about that water stuff. And they were talking about how anxiety, confusion, low level, depression and things like that a lot of times are caused by dehydration. And there's obviously scientific reasons for that. But I always find that fascinating because, like some days I think I feel, for me, between nutrition, hydration, and sleep, I think so many of these low-level problems can be solved, I guess is my point, is that because they come chronic and they're not really a lot of times big problems, but they're sort of naggers. And when you get constantly in that spot, it can really kind of wear you down. But like I used to read a lot. I don't know if you ever got into Tony Robbins back in the day.
Never.
Okay. Well, he obviously long time, lifestyle guru type guy. But when I just remember one of his things was like, I can't remember what he called it. It's like triggers. Like he always had like a hand clap or something to kind of try and snap himself out of these weird little places that you would get in. And I do feel like sometimes that happens to me where, like at run camp, for example, I may not, if I got up on a normal day and was going to try and run 6 straight days or twice a day or whatever, and by myself, that might be a challenging venture for me. I mean, really impossible probably. But at run camp, you can kind of wake up groggy and your legs aren't feeling it. Man, we ran yesterday, a tough run. Blah, blah, I can't, I don't know. But the minute you see some people and you kind of like start punching it up a little bit with them, you get your head out of that spot, whatever it is, it's just sort of a general black hole is what I like to call it almost. It's sort of like you don't even know necessarily what you're not feeling or what's bumming you out or what's bringing you down. It's not like a concrete life problem as much as it is, I got to clean up my desktop or, like all these things that sort of like weigh on your mind. And I do believe that sometimes we can fool ourselves. It's like fake it till you make it. Like, I think if you can kind of like, if you really shouldn't be as tired as you think you are, because that's a big one, right? Too.
Yeah,
like,
huge.
I don't even know why I'm this tired. I shouldn't be this tired. Like you said, it's like, we're not overloading you. It shouldn't be the workouts per se, but how do you get through that? And I think sort of like, I don't know. It's one of the biggest challenges that I face, I think, is that I have to sometimes snap myself out of whatever sort of groove I'm in, or it might even be what they call vibrational groove or something like that. You hear about, vibrating on higher planes and things like that. And I think that a lot of times when I'm in a funky spot or something, I'll try to get into a higher vibration somehow. And that can, either be through listening to music or talking to friends or whatever. And it's so weird how you say, man, I just saw a great friend. I was feeling shitty before then. And then all of a sudden I feel great now. I had some coffee with him and I'm reconnected. So I think it's a lot of the isolation that we've gone through, the loneliness that can kind of pop up in those situations, and sort of that woe is me, and those that like we were talking about last time, that fear of the unknown, things that are never going to happen. Those kind of things weigh you down. So I think that while everything is important, sleep and, stress loads and all these kind of things, I think so much more of it can be kind of beaten almost if we can get our heads in a better spot for vibrational play and just really just almost be happy and healthy, like we're saying.
Yeah. Everyone needs their own cue, right? I don't want you to bring it back to that, but there's one thing you said about big problems, right? For most everyone in life, we create our biggest problem. And the reason is because big problems are usually a multitude of smaller problems ignored. And that's just what we do,
yeah,
right?
As humans, what I mean.
Like that's what we do. Like, I ignore this, ignore that, and oh God, because it's a huge problem. It's like when people get injured, and like, wait a minute, stop. You have this, you injure yourself. This couldn't be random. Well, like the last few weeks and months, I've had this little niggle pain. It's just kind of come and going, and today it just, boom. Like, rarely ever does it just happen. Boom, instantly. And that's goes with most of the things in life, right? Our biggest problems come from the fact that we ignored all the signs to prevent it, right? Whether it was willfully or from anxiety or fear, whatever it was, we just ignored all these small problems until it became a massive, massive problem that's going to take a huge undertaking to fix, right? And that's the same thing goes with people. You'll hear a lot of coaches, and I mostly agree with this. They'll say you can really rarely ever overtrain an athlete. It's not overtraining. It's called under recovering. And that is and yes, you overtrain an athlete by giving them way too much stress and way too much intensity, 100%. But when athletes feel too tired, example, like the athlete I was talking about who I said, day off tomorrow, deleted from Training Peaks, don't argue with me. It wasn't because the training was too much. It was because life was too much, right? And so but you have athletes that are so dedicated and so, type A and stubborn that they'll just blaze through life, checking boxes because they feel like they have to, or they'll get behind. Or again, it's like their sanity, right? They need something, but the reason people get overtrained is because you ignore all the warning signs prior. You didn't wake up overtrained. You didn't wake up hurt. You didn't wake up so sore and run down. You didn't wake up, having this. It's because you ignored and didn't address all the telltale signs that said, stop, rest, recover, sleep more, eat better. Like, I had this exact, we just blame everything else, right? That's what we just, is this so I'm probably maybe 10 or 12 pounds heavier than I usually am in race season right now.
Oh, you look good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I bought a new pair of shoes down at Fleet. What'd you say?
They're lighter.
Listen, this is just reality. I bought a new pair of shoes. They quit making my favorite pair of Saucony Freedoms, although I found some bootleg pairs online that are a year old. I'm going to buy all of them that I possibly can. They redid it. First of all, shoe companies. I know you don't care what we say because we don't sponsor you, but stop messing with good shoes. Because Nicole Winger, one of our coaches, she works at Fleet Feet. She's a shoe guru. I said, I had to come in the store. I need to use my coupon. I need some new shoes. I haven't gotten any new since the last time I was here, a year ago. And she was like, you're going to be disappointed they changed it. To be fair, I have the Saucony Freedom 3s. They now have the Freedom 5s. So I'm a little bit behind. But anyway, so I got these Kinvaras, and I ran the first time, and she's like, you're not going to like them as much. They're a little bit firmer on the front. I was like, that's not really a problem for me. I can usually, so I went and ran in them. And my first 4 minutes, it's these shoes blow. I hate these shoes. They're too stiff for me. They're too light for me. And then my next thought was a total reality check. And I said, the shoes aren't too light. You're too heavy. And that's just a fact. If I was in my usual I hadn't been training as much, had a lot of life stuff going on, just haven't been paying that much attention to me. It's this time of year, right? It's like, it's okay to be packing a little bit extra, but I'm about, 12 to 14 pounds heavier than I usually am when I'm racing, and feeling good and feeling light on my feet. And my first thought was, these shoes aren't for me. And then my next thought was, yes, they are. You're just not right for the shoes, right? Not right now, right? And that's just reality. And it wasn't like I wasn't being hard on myself. I wasn't shaming myself. It was just a fact, right? It's a fact that I know, and I was willing to recognize. And instead of being like, I'm returning these and like walking to these are not good shoes. I'm like, dude, what's not good is my choice to not eat a little bit cleaner, right? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just recognizing, right? All these little things add up. And then when you get to that point, you're like, all right, now what do I got to do to fix it, right? But things compound, right? You don't just get a pass. You just don't wake up one day and you get to erase it the next day and wake up fresh as a daisy, right? Things compound. Fitness compounds. Time off compounds, right? Fueling like crap compounds, right? We always joke when we leave from run camp, we're like, all right, who gained the most weight? Because you go to run camp and you just eat, right? And you just eat. It's not bad. It's not shaming. It's not anything negative. It's just a fact, right? Things compound. Fitness compound. Consistency compounds. Time in zone 1 and zone 2 compounds, right? All these good things, but so do negative things, like being around people that are negative all the time. What are you going to become? A negative person, right?
Nancy.
Yeah, negative Nancy. Starts, you're constantly on Facebook or Instagram or Strava comparing stuff to other people. What are you going to feel? Not good enough, right? We do this shit to ourselves. We do it all the time. We do it willfully. We do it without like any self-recognition or awareness. And at some point, you just have to look in the mirror and be like, you know what? I got one person to blame. Lift one finger, point in the mirror. It's you, okay? It's 100% you. It is all these small things that add up to you not getting, like I had another athlete, as an example, that they were doing a specific race later in this year and texted me and said, I can't do this race. I waited too long. All the hotels are full. I don't have the money. I'm such a procrastinator. It's like plagued my life. It has done this. I'm no good for it. I was like, well, then let's not be procrastinating anymore. Like we have all these things that we do that we always like, I just did this, but we don't ever make a intentional course correction in life when we see it. We wait. We are in denial. We don't think it's going to happen. We don't want to deal with it, right? With most people, I don't really want to deal with that right now. So you wake up tomorrow and you're like, I'll be fine. And then you're like, you're not fine, right? You're effing miserable. You don't. And that's the same thing with like having the course corrections in life, for the most part, are preventable, right? You can deviate from the course you're on. You're your own captain, right? You're driving your own ship. Whether you have a coach or not, you can deviate, right? We talk all the time about how flexible we want our athletes to be. We want them to be autonomous and work, within their own parameters, but with us, kind of guiding them along the way and push them in a direction. Like, you should need a whole course correction. You should be able to deviate along the way and have confidence in that. Don't get so lost, right? You miss one turn, guess what? Take the next turn that gets you back on track. Don't miss one turn and be like, all right, you know what? Let's take this one. Maybe this one. And then all of a sudden, instead of being 5 minutes off your route, you're 45 minutes off your route because you thought, you know what? I'm going to keep going this way. I'll find my way back. And guess what? You don't. And then you got your GPS is like, turn around, U-turn, turn around, U-turn, turn around. You mute it. And the next thing you know, you're lost in BFE in the middle of Mississippi and got nowhere else to go.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to go back to that shoe thing for a minute because it's weird because we had the same sort of parallel again because about a week and a half ago. Because I went through this thing with plantar fasciitis the last 2 years ago or whatever. No, but like it comes back to this. It really does. And I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. But it was just like, I'll take. And so what happened?
I was being real with you.
You were being real, and you
didn't like hearing it.
I didn't hate it, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like I felt like, oh man, he's going after me. I knew, but I didn't really realize. I didn't kind of realize it in a way. But anyway, the point is, I had plantar fasciitis, and I went through this long thing, and it was kind of a woe is me thing, and then I kind of started. I got these Hokas, and then the trail Hokas, and I started running trails, and it sort of slowly started going away. But anyway, you had said to me after a while, you're like, hey, dude, you just need to lose some weight, man. It's coming down on you. And then, but a week and a half ago, I was out. I'm still running in those Hokas, and I got the smaller, I don't ever remember names. I could care less.
Me either.
But anyway, it wasn't as thick of a sole, in the mid-range one or whatever. But I was wearing the thick ones again. I was out and I was just feeling, I'm like, I got to get off these, man, because this is like a enabling thing or something. Just because it's cushy and whatever, that doesn't make me a better runner. You know what I mean? It's just like a slipper test or slipper, escape where it feels comfortable and whatever. But I started feeling like crap on that run. And I was like, man, I'm not running that good. So I got my old Newtons out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
From like you talk about old school. These
old
things
school.
Like I haven't bought a pair of Newtons in at least 5 years.
Probably got 4 lugs on them still.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they're old school.
I used to get mad. 5 lug, 4 or 5. Anyway, yeah, I got, I think they're 5s. But anyway, the point is we can get kind of in these like comfort zones. And I just feel like as I need to, lose some weight. I'm not fat shaming myself for doing any of that.
I think you look great.
Thank you.
Looks svelte.
I've been doing all right. I've been eating a little bit better, whatever. But I went out the other day and not in the thick things, and I ran hard, and I was like, I feel all right. And this is the kind of feeling I need to re-engage in myself, rather than, we always talk about going easy and everything like that. But two, if you're getting stronger and feeling better, I mean, there's a psychology about it. It's like, I think that's what happens to a lot of people when, they get into this run easy, run slow. We tend to like slink into it a little too much and not remember that, hey, we still got to, it's not glorified walking.
Mm-hmm.
It's still running. It's like, you got to keep your form and be strong and purposeful with your stride and everything like that. It's just, we're trying to build up strength to go longer and whatever. So the other thing I was reading in that book, and I just want to bring it up because it came up, was that I'm talking about you losing, 10, 15 pounds or whatever, is that if you drink water before you eat, I think that might be the simplest way to do it, because what happens is it satiates, like the water is what your brain needs for energy and electricity. But a lot of times we want to go to food first, and then it's kind of, for lack of a better, not clean energy to the brain. So it starts confusing the system or whatever. But if you can kind of like, appease your brain first, then your body and your mind, you start making better decisions, and you may not want to eat as much and or be craving the carbs or the sugar foods.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the main point behind all that. And I think that you're dead on with what you say, man. It's like so funny that you can blame the shoes, but man, the reality is like,
we make our own choices.
Blame anything, but it's really comes down so much of it's about the athlete. I think about this all the time. It's like when I was running, when we were back in the day and I was feeling like a better run, I would put on any shoe. I didn't really care. I was in a good spot. I was strong and my feet were strong and I was running a lot and everything was, and I was lighter. And I just put on whatever. And I remember the first time I went to Brooks, because they were so thick, I started almost immediately feeling that I'm talking about, which is quite honestly, I felt a little soft.
Yeah, I hate feeling soft. But that shoe moment for me was my wake up moment.
Yeah,
I think we all need them. And I think so for me, I'm the same way. When I'm in really good shape, I'm light, I'm quick, I'm fit, right? It's you can also be light and brittle, right? You can also be light. I got to put on a shoe, and it's still because you're not durable. When I am feeling the most fit and strong and durable, I'm the same way. I can literally put on any shoe and be like, let's go run, and have zero problems. Always. That's why when I put up these shoes, I was like, whatever. She's like, I'm like, I'm going to like him. I like him. I like him already. And then I went in and I was like, fuck. I was like, you are not in shape. It is time. And instead of taking him back, you know what I did? Kept him. I'm going to run in those shoes. And that was it was like my, some people, they're trying to lose weight. They buy pants or shirts that are smaller. They would have worked. They went into them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way I feel about shoes. I was like, she was like, you can take it back. I was like, no. This shoe is going to be right for me. I'm going to be right for this shoe. I am in. I am not taking it back. I'm not making excuses. I don't want to be soft. I want to get back and make my training a priority and pay a little more attention to my diet. I was like, I'm going to make this shoe right for me. You know what I did this morning? Ran in them. They weren't my favorite, but you know what I did? I ran. I was like, I'm not taking these back. I'm not going to go back down the training because maybe you need a little something cushier. The fuck I do. Like, you know what I need to do is not be so cushy around the mid waist, right? That's what I need right now. You know, and so I think it's just, listen, like, it's healthy, right? To recognize things we need to work on, and instead of, because listen, for every problem in life or everything you think you need, there is a quick answer out there, right? Cushier shoe, easier way to do this, hire somebody to do that. There's all, go roll through the fast food window instead of making your own food at home. Like, there's a million different easy, quick fixes for everything in life. But the bad thing about it is that they're usually quick for a reason, right? There's a reason fast food is called fast food, right? It is it's quick and it's not good for you. That's just a fact, right? The things that are good in life take time. Not only that are good, but that are sustainable, right? That you can eat well for a long period of time. Same thing with fitness. It takes time. We just don't want to take the time, right, anymore to do these things that are lasting. Any professional athlete will tell you none of it happens overnight. None of it happens in a year. None of it happens, in a blink of an eye. It's because of all this time and all this effort, all the things we chose to do, and it just takes time. But also, guess what? The farther you get off course with the bad decisions that you make, whether it's, putting on too much weight or staying away from training or overtraining and doing too much and doing too much high intensity, you're doing so much. And we've been mentioning this, I think, maybe a few weeks ago. There have been a few athletes I've talked to that I started working with, and I said to them, it's going to take us a month, maybe more, to get you back to being not so drastically overtrained, because that's how big of a hole you dug. So now the job is to actually, pile in some dirt, take a little bit more time off, which is like, whoa, that's not what I signed up for. I want you to, I'm like, listen, if you want to perform well, it's not about doing too much. It's about doing the right amount. Right. And then learning to take days off and learning to do, like, another interview I listened to, with the guy that coaches the Norwegian national team, right? They had a super successful 2020, and like the most successful year they've ever had, going to the Olympic year, right? They got two guys, Christian Blumenfeld, Gustav Iden, which now, a lot of triathletes know because they're doing 70.3s and fulls, but they were ITU Olympic level guys going for the Olympics. Instead of, he said two things there that just stuck with me. He said, we don't worry about anybody else. We trust what we do is right. And in fact, we did 5% less this year than we did last. So they had an insane, so most people, hugely successful year. You know what's going to do better? More. I need more. Best year they've ever had, Olympic gold medal. Gustav Iden wins Ironman Florida. Blumenfeld wins it, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, you must have done something better, right? Something more. And he's like, nah, I did less. And it's just a huge lesson, I think, in recognition of what we're taught with society, which is more is always better, right? More stress, more hours worked, more volume, more intensity, more, more food, right? It's just like everything is about selling more. Nothing is ever about selling less. And usually less is the right amount versus the more.
Yeah. And I also think that, one of the other things that I was reading about last night was this idea of trying to lose weight. And it was interesting because the guy that was talking about drink water before your meal, he also said, before you do anything, if you're trying to lose weight, you have to visualize yourself, literally believe that you're going to be losing weight, and you can see yourself over and over. And I think that's, that's like the prerequisite for, because if you don't believe it truly, then you're not going to do it. So
believing the process, you can't really entrust it if you don't fully believe it.
Yep. And that's the thing I think is so true about triathlon too. It's like, if you don't believe that you're going to be able to do these certain things, or, you don't believe you're a swimmer, if you don't believe you're you have to get your belief systems in line and go forward with confidence. I mean, it really does boil down to, like, shifting your perspective, like I was saying earlier about how you can get your mind in these like muddy places and stuff like that. If you don't get yourself out of that and believe that you're going the right direction and that that you can do it, because you can. I mean, it's just, you can hit your goals. There's no question about it. But like you said, it's sort of like Just put it off. I'll get on it tomorrow. And you have to start shifting that into, yes, I've made a little progress today. I made a little progress, and I can actually start to see it. And I just like, I've always been so fascinated with this like overkill of training kind of thing, because it's so obvious to me that if you can get in really good shape and feel good and have your cardio there and be strong, you don't need to continually beat yourself into the ground to prove anything. I think it's counterintuitive actually sometimes, like you shouldn't be shelled after training all the time. You should never be shelled as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't mean, help me.
Well, let's leave you with this. For all the athletes entering in their biggest phases of training and obsessed with doing, marathon training or full Ironman training, who are obsessed with thinking they have to run, a bunch of 20 plus milers. The guy that was hired by Nike to help with he's also a triathlete coach that was hired to help with Nike for the sub 2 hour project, right? For the marathon, literally said, you don't need to run a 20 miler to run well in the marathon. So don't take it from these two guys who were trying to lose weight and fit in our shoes. Learn it. Take it from somebody. Take it from somebody like that. It says you don't need them. Yet 70% of all athletes who line up for an Ironman will have done multiple 20 plus mile slog fest runs that take 4 hours and are destroyed. And the other quote I think he had was, he said, "Don't lose your race in training." Mm-hmm. And so many Ironman athletes following a plan or some kind of misguided approach lose their race in training because they do too much. They do way too much. So remember that when you're making a decision to do something or not do something, ask yourself, am I going to lose my race in training? But the hardest part is most people are going to think, I got to do more. Instead of, I want to show up to the line fit, fresh, and ready to go.
Yeah, it's confidence, man.
It's all about confidence. We hope this gave you confidence. We'll see you next week. Hope you have an awesome weekend. Best of luck with all your teams, unless you play for Duke or Kentucky, and then we're not cheering for you. Go Vols, go Badgers. If you need anything, check out our website, C26Triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. And then, as always, if you need anything from Mike, he is at crushingiron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me specifically, I'm at C26Coach@gmail.com.
563 in the books.
563.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.